Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. A little late here. We did, Trev text me, just a few minutes before 9 o'clock to watch the Yankees lose and are out of the playoff. Trev and I are excited about that. The only thing that would have been better is if Aaron Judge would have struck out to end the game instead of hitting the double there or single, whatever he hit. That would have been the only thing better.
Judge was awesome this series and in the playoffs, so I'm happy for him. I like Aaron Judge, but yeah, I'm glad to see the Yankees go down. When it's all said and done, I do hope Aaron Judge gets a World Series ring added to his resume. But he was awesome in the postseason.
That ball he hit yesterday, that 3-run home run, was hit so hard. 0-2 pitch, you can't make that pitch, but also there's only about 5 players in the world can hit that pitch. He happens to be one of them, and he hit it, 1,000 miles an hour right off the foul pole.
Yeah, that was his big moment that everybody's been talking about. Then he made a great defensive play too out in the outfield, which is he's had some mishaps there, at least going back to last postseason in the World Series. So no, he was good, but it's always fun to see the Yankees go down. I'm sure all the TV networks would like to see Yankees versus Cubs that get a high rating, or another Yankees Dodgers series. But Blue Jays are moving on, and then we got some the other 3 series. Of course, it's elimination time for all the teams, or win and go on. So it's always good to see the Yankees go down.
Absolutely. I think it would be I'd be awesome to see Detroit play Toronto in the ALDS, because they're essentially neighbors. And then all the Toronto doesn't even count for TV ratings. So even though they are watching it, but it doesn't count, it'd be really funny for Major League Baseball to not be able to count half their fans of the team in the ALDS, which they are in the ALCS now with the win tonight. But if they would get to the World Series, first time since 93, I believe, when Joe Carter hit the walk-off home run. That's the last time a walk-off home run won it, I believe.
Yeah, they're moving on. Of course, Seattle's all the way out there if they were to move on to and make it. I've got the Cubs and the Brewers. I bet them before the playoffs started. So I'm going to for sure have one team moving on. I'll have to look to see maybe if I want to have a second team, or if I'm just going to ride or die with one of those two. Probably the Brewers will move on. But no, it's always playoff baseball is fun because every pitch feels like life or death. It's totally opposite of the regular season, at least until you get down the last couple of weeks of the regular season, when it's really crunch time, I should say.
And that's what I was good. That's the conversation I wanted to have is did not watch Twins, any game, whatever. I didn't sit down and watch a game. I probably didn't watch 100 pitches from, the end of March till October 1 or whatever it was, the end of September. But since the playoffs start, I have them on every night. Even on days there's football games on right now, I have baseball on. Or it's a quad box or 2 TVs, whatever. But I have the baseball because it's awesome to watch. And I don't know if it's just everything matters more, or these are the best teams. So these are the teams that actually, watching the Twins after they traded away half their roster literally was no fun. They were so bad. Yes, they won some games, but they're so bad. The Rockies are so bad. The White Sox are so bad. There's just so many teams that just can't do it that it's just no fun to watch. And, the Dodgers through 3/4 of the season looked like they didn't even care. And now they're down right now. Schwarber just hit a home run for the Phillies, and they got a couple more. So I think it's 3-1 last I looked in the Dodgers-Phillies game. But if the Dodgers wouldn't this one, they would have swept the first 2 series. So they just flip a switch, and they're untouchable, which they should be. I mean, they spend more money than the Yankees now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it has to do with the crowds too at the baseball stadiums. Yep. It's so electric. Like I said, every pitch feels like life or death. When the Yankees there at the bottom of the ninth, they got that leadoff double. They showed some kid in the stands, pumping his fist, a Yankees fan, because there was hope. There was still hope, even though it was a final inning, still a long shot to make the comeback. And they scored a run, and you wondered, Judge comes up. Toronto fans, they had to be a little bit nervous. Close that one.
Well, And in the bottom of the 8th, they had the bases loaded.
Mm-hmm.
If he hits a home run, it's a grand slam. It's a tie ball game. So they had chances. So, but Hoffman got out of it, and we'll go from there. I do think it'll be the Dodgers, and be hard to bet against the Blue Jays. And people do forget the Blue Jays did have the best record in baseball. They do forget that. They have the number 1 seed.
Yeah, they're just kind of a team that everybody forgets about, with the Yankees and Boston and all that over there in the Northeast. So, yeah, I would probably say the Blue Jays, again, I just start watching during the playoffs. And then probably the Brewers or the Dodgers you figure would come out on the other end. But no, baseball playoffs, it's a lot of fun. And like you said, too, even for me, I really only watch the playoffs to begin with. I'll have the playoff games, the volume on, and I'll have football muted for a lot of these.
Yeah, I mean, and baseball is just different because there is time between each pitches. And the one thing baseball has done a really good job of in the last 5 years is they are shortening their game so much compared to football now that's getting so much longer. It's college football is almost unwatchable. It's, I will say Iowa State's getting much better in the stadium in those 3-4 minutes. But, the last few weeks where I haven't, been to a game, trying to watch games, it's hard to watch with those 4 or 5 minute breaks every whatever minutes. It is hard to watch college football because of all the breaks.
A lot of TV commercials, these big TV deals come more commercials typically. That there was a lot of complaints about the Ryder Cup too. I was one of them. It was just, there wasn't that much golf going on in the course, and It seemed like during vital times of the match they would cut to commercials. But the TV deals, the commercials, the sponsors, they pay the bills, so it's part of it. But no, baseball's in a good spot right now. The games are getting quicker. Baseball playoffs are awesome. We talked about the same thing last year. We were doing this when the Dodgers and Yankees were playing. I know we did a couple episodes, I think, and now playoff baseball is awesome though.
Yep. All right, let's start with the NFL on this one. We'll finish with college football. I named this episode Must Win Saturday. We'll get to I want to end with the Cyclones and Hawkeyes both being, I think, a huge must win Saturday for both of them if they want to reach the goals that they both have for themselves. NFL, obviously, you're the lead guy on that. I know right at the top of your list was Mac Jones. We've talked. I want to do this first. We've talked about our survivor pool. I'm out. There's a lot of people out. I think 55% of the people lost this week because the Bills lost, the Chiefs lost, the Rams lost, and there was one other, like the top 4 picks all lost.
Yeah, I did 2 with the Rams of my 4 remaining, so half mine are out now. I've only got 2 of my 5 remaining. I didn't know if you were out. I forgot to check, but Yeah, the Rams. The thing about it was I was going to have 1 Rams no matter what. And I thought about doing the Bills. So regardless, I was going to lose 2 this past week, no matter what. That's the tough thing about survivor pools. And going back to that Thursday night, it feels like a long time ago. That was an all-time performance by Mac Jones. I mean, he could barely walk, looked like he was throwing up.
He ate like 5 bananas.
Yeah, and it was a hell of a coaching job by Shanahan because they were down to everybody. I mean, he's got to be up for Coach of the Year. Him and Shane Steichen of the Colts. It was an all-time performance by Mac Jones, Shanahan, and the Niners.
Well, and then the one guy everybody kind of forgot about that was healthy was Christian McCaffrey. He's pretty good when he's healthy.
Yeah, I don't think he has any rushing touchdowns, but he might lead the league in total touches, though.
Right.
He's got to be right up there. So
they just get him the ball. I mean,
he's still a valuable player. No, that was a massive win, though, for the 49ers. And for Stafford, I know we're going to talk about MVP here in a little bit. I mean, his team's kind of let him down in a couple games. He drove down the field versus the Eagles. They couldn't make the kick. And then at the end of that Rams-Niners game, I know you were probably watching. All they had to do was run into the running back fumbles.
I'm like, this is going to work out. It's almost like, are they going to score too fast?
Yeah.
And then he fumbles at the 1-yard line.
Yeah,
and he fumbled last year too in a very important game against. They gave the best game in the playoffs against the Eagles, and I believe he had a fumble in that game as well.
Yeah, he and Breece Hall got a little bit of a fumbling problem in the NFL. Breece Hall, I just saw about an hour ago. The Jets are open to supposedly he's on the trade block, which we've been talking about that the entire season. So look for his name to come up. But Mac Jones revitalizing his career with the Shanahan offense, like a lot of players have done. Coming into this season, a lot of people were asking, was it going to be Daniel Jones or Fields that were going to be the next Baker, Geno, Sam Darnold? And I was like, it might not be either. Well, potentially could be too. Obviously, Daniel Jones is doing really well, and this could be Mac Jones's. Maybe he signs somewhere in the offseason with a new team and gets his next big opportunity. So it was, like I said, Shanahan's got to be up for Coach of the Year, one of the top 2 or 3 right now.
Yeah, especially if they keep, if they win their division and they got to keep going. It goes to show you, and Trevor Lawrence is the same way. When you start getting better players around you and you have a stable coach, I don't even think it has to be the greatest coach in the world, but it's just some stability. And, Lawrence came in the number 1 pick. Anytime the number 1 pick is had, the team's not very good. Most of the time it's a brand new coach, or at most it's a second-year coach because they've been bad. It's just really, really hard. They set a lot of these kids up for failure. I really believe that. Now, if you can withstand it and get through those first few years, and either that team starts to get better or you move on, you have a chance. But some people just can't get through that first 3 years and just are never ever the same.
Coaching matters a lot in the NFL. You got to have the right coach. John Middlecoff was talking about that this today. There's a lot of coordinators and position coaches that are frauds, as he calls them, guys that they're just looking for a paycheck, which is fine. I mean, you can make a lot of money in professional sports. I don't blame anyone, but there's a lot of coaches and scouts in the NFL that there's a, I don't want to say half the league, but there's a decent number of coaches out there that probably are in positions that they shouldn't be. It's one of the old sayings, it's who you know, not what you know type of deal. That's in all industries, including professional sports. But yeah, typically if you're a number 1 pick or a top 5 pick, you're usually going to a bad team. And just, real quick here, I don't know what the odds would have been before the season, but as of right now, the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bengals would all be picking in the top 10 of the draft. Now, it's probably not going to finish that way, but if it did, I wonder what a $5 bet to have those 3 teams in the top 10. I mean, $5, if you were to do that before the season, that $5 may pay out $10,000 or $15,000 on something like that.
Oh, absolutely. The Ravens are still favored to win their division, though, I believe.
I think I heard that, or it's close now because of Pittsburgh. Yeah. After this weekend, the Ravens got a tough one at home versus the Rams. Yeah, we'll see if Lamar plays or not. I haven't looked at that lately. I'm sure we'll find out some more tomorrow and Friday. But, yeah, that's we talk about every year. NFL's a league of hope. All these teams, very few people, even Colts fans, had the Colts doing this well to start out. Now, do I think the Colts can win the Super Bowl? I'm not ready to say that yet or get on that train. But obviously, 4-1, they're expected to make the playoffs now at this point, only 5 weeks in.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL is wild. Good teams beating bad teams. And it's just, and bad teams in 1 week have, I mean, the Chiefs and the Rams both were right there for the taking. Chiefs throw a pick 6 and the Rams fumble at the 1 yard line. Those 2 things don't happen. They both win and all's right in the world.
Yeah, and the Bills had a chance to get to 5-0. Yep. They were at home versus a younger Patriots team. Patriots, Broncos, and Washington all won on the road. Those were three teams. I believe they were all 2-2 coming into this past week. And those were teams I was like, one of them might go on a run. I didn't know if all 3 would with their schedules. But the NFL is a week-to-week league, but typically, most of the good quarterbacks at the end of the year are in the playoffs. But as of right now, at least in the AFC is it's the Wild West. I mean, anything could happen. As of right now, the Colts were technically the number 1 seed according to ESPN if the playoffs started today. So there's still a lot of room for the Chiefs to bounce back. The Ravens is going to be a little bit tougher. Chiefs got the Lions coming up in primetime games, so that's going to be a tough one. It's in Arrowhead, which is good, but it's kind of another must-win for Kansas City.
Yeah, every game's a must-win. They've already got 3 losses. They've got to put it together and just make the plays that they're used to making. which they're not doing right now. Everybody involved. Kelsey needs to be better. Mahomes needs to be better. The receivers just get better and better. And then, as you said, for weeks now, they've got to figure out a running game or it's just not going to work.
Yeah, they've got to find a running game, and then special teams. I think they had 5 or 6 special teams penalties, it felt like, against the Jaguars. They got some young players. That's got to get cleaned up, but I'm sure it will. Andy Reid's one of the best at that. I don't expect that to happen against the Lions. If it does and they lose the game, maybe the Chiefs have just, all these games over the past 6 years or whatever it's been, maybe it is finally adding up. But, yeah, the Chiefs have dug themselves a hole. The good news is the Bengals and Ravens look like they're probably not going to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So that does open some things. Kansas City's division's really tough. Some good news is the Chargers are having cluster injuries right now.
Mm-hmm.
Denver looks like they're hitting their stride. So it's going to be a battle for the Chiefs to get in. Whether they win their division or it's a wild card, they've, like you said, they've got 3 losses. It used to be 10-7. And then this year in the AFC, 10-7 teams are probably going to get in. But typically you figure 11-6 just to be safe. But yeah, Kansas City, 3 losses, maybe 4 more is about all they can afford.
Yeah, because you got to get there. You got to get to the point now where you just got to get in, and now in the playoffs, get in, and we'll see. Right? I mean, that's just they are the Chiefs. They all know how to play. They all know how to win. Not very many teams get a bye anymore. They're just going to have to go with it and suck it up and play. And it'd be really hard to bet against them in a playoff game, I believe.
Yeah, a couple years ago, they went on the road a couple times and they got to the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs do play. I'd have to pull up their schedule. I think they do play the Colts later in the season, so that could be a massive. If they can beat the Colts and somehow the Chiefs go on a little bit of a run, then they'd have the tiebreaker over them. There's some other teams, of course, the Bills. Bills have an extremely easy schedule on paper, at least compared to other teams. So my guess is the Bills probably still end up with the number 1 seed. But yeah, Kansas City right now is just get back to 500 and hopefully win your division. That way, at least you get 1 home playoff game.
Yeah. Arrowhead is a special place in the playoffs. What do you think of the Flacco trade?
Not a lot. I mean, the Browns are moving on. It's going to be Dillon Gabriel time. Sounds like Bailey Zappi might actually be the backup this coming weekend and not Shedeur Sanders. Right.
I don't think they like Sanders. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. The coaching staff now, ownership and everything else is different. But when he wouldn't commit to him, that just goes to show me that he doesn't want any part of it.
Yeah, and for Flacco going to the Bengals, it might give him a little bit of a spark. For fantasy owners of Chase and Higgins, it might end up being a good thing, even though Chase has had back-to-back good weeks in garbage time, which fantasy owners, you don't care as long as you get the points. Right. But yeah, for the Browns, I mean, Gabriel's going to have a decently long leash as long as he doesn't get hurt. But I expect by the end of the season, Shedeur's probably going to get at least 4 starts, I would think, somewhere around there. But if Dillon Gabriel plays well, then we might not see Shedeur at all. But as bad as the Browns are, I expect to see him at least a few games, just later in the season, though.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing on your NFL list, Giants coaching candidates. When will that change be made?
Maybe not till after the season. There's just a couple names I've written down. Obviously, I mentioned this name already. Lane Kiffin's going to be a hot name if after the season at Ole Miss. If he feels like he's maxed out there and there's not another college job he wants to go to, he might want to get back in the NFL. Another name to pay attention to, and it's not going to be a fun name or a sexy name, and people are going to roll their eyes at it if the Giants were to hire him. That's Big Mike McCarthy. He wins everywhere. He knows offense. He knows that division. Coached in Detroit for in Dallas for a number of years. So he knows the division. Mike McCarthy's not a sexy name. Like I said, it won't be exciting, but he knows offense. He wins, and I think he's coached in over 20 playoff games. So the Giants just need a capable coach to get him back on track.
And that's what I was just going to say is they just need someone to right the ship and start getting the program, the organization going in the right direction. He's just the guy to turn him around. And then if you want to, fire him and go to the guy to maybe take you all the way, even though you can say what you want. He did take Aaron Rodgers and the Packers all the way. So he can do it. I like that actually a lot. He's an NFL lifer. He knows everything to do about it. He'd be, Jackson Dart looks like the guy that they're going to go with. He knows how to coach quarterbacks. And yeah, I like that, Trev.
Yeah, and I've made fun of Mike McCarthy over the years, but he's a pretty decent coach. He's not bad by any means, and that the Giants could certainly do a lot worse. I mean, they've done a lot worse the past 10 years. So Mike would be a good one. The last thing I want to do before we go to college, if you don't have anything else, I'll just give you my top 5 MVP if I was to vote right now.
Yep.
I'll go Jonathan Taylor, number 5.
Okay.
Somebody from the Colts has got to be in the top 5, I think, given their record. So I'll give it to JT. Number 4, I'd have him a lot higher. I might even have him 1 or 2, but his team has let him down again. It's Matt Stafford. He's been phenomenal in my opinion. So he should be in the top 5. Jared Goff, number 3, after that Green Bay game. Now they played bad teams, so that is a fair argument against him, but he's putting up amazing numbers. 2, Josh Allen, and number one right now has got to be Baker Mayfield. All the comeback wins. Yep. He's putting up big numbers. They've had a lot of injuries. So for me, it's Baker 1. And we'll see how – I mean, Amon's St. Brown's in there, Dak, Puka Nacua. There's some other guys, of course, but I think Dak's actually having a really good year, one of his best 2 or 3 years of his career, given everything that's going on. But those would be my top 5 right now. I'd probably give it to Baker a slight nod.
And here's what's funny about that. Everybody gives everybody a lot of crap for drafting quarterbacks number 1, and 3 of the top 5 are number 1 draft picks. Goff, Stafford, and Mayfield.
Yep. And no, that's right.
And none of them are at their original team. Now, obviously, Goff and Stafford were traded for each other. That is, again, one of those, you don't see it a lot, but that's a trade that worked out for both teams. They both got what they wanted. The Lions haven't got that step yet that they want, but they're right on the doorstep. They were the top seed last year. They didn't make it. It is what it is. They look like they're going to be right there again this year. You and I both have them in the Super Bowl, I believe. So they're right there. And after 1 week, we were questioning ourselves, but the Packers played really good, and the Packers are good as well. But Detroit's really, really good.
Yeah, that's right. And, there's outlier quarterbacks over the years with Tom Brady, Brock Purdy, Kurt Warner undrafted, Tony Romo undrafted, Russell Wilson, Dak. There's some outliers, but most of the all-time legends have been first-rounder or early second-round picks. Again, there's outliers. There's guys that overachieve their draft position for sure, but it's like offensive linemen too. A lot of the best of all time were typically first-round picks, top 10 guys. Now, as you mentioned, some of them have to move around a little bit. And again, that trade between Goff and Stafford did work out for both teams. I know Detroit doesn't have the Super Bowl, but Detroit's having their best 3 or 4 year run really in franchise history, at least in our lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, in the early Barry Sanders days, they were pretty good. They were maybe even NFC Championship, like rookie or second year for Barry Sanders. And then it kind of fell off. And then they had like one more chance, like right towards the end of his career, and they didn't make it. But yeah, has Detroit ever even been in the Super Bowl? They have NFL championships, but since the Super Bowl era, I don't even think they've been to a Super Bowl.
No, I don't believe so. So that one a few years ago where in San Francisco, they probably should have won it. Dan Campbell told the media that he told his team, you may never get back here. Of course, the media crushed him, but all the former players and coaches were like, well, he was right. And, a lot of players, there's a lot of NFL players that play 5, 8, 10 years that never get to a Super Bowl, never get to a conference title. Hell, some of them, if they spend their whole career with the Jets and Panthers and some of these teams, they don't even see the playoffs in their careers. Right. So it's very tough. But yeah, Lions are back on track. I'll do official power rankings again next week, every 3 weeks. Okay. I'll do 1 through 32, but we'll only go over the top 10. But I'll make a list and you can post it. Yeah, we were definitely worried about Detroit after week 1, and they bounced back. Now it's been bad teams for the most part, but they're doing what they're supposed to against bad teams so far.
Okay, let's switch over to college football. Obviously, our kind of mainstay. Let's talk Penn State and Texas. Number 1 and number 2 preseason, both of them not ranked, and 2 of the biggest I'm gonna separate Texas a little bit from Penn State. Texas has 2 losses at Ohio State and at Florida. Now, Ohio State, number 1 team in the country, you can't fault them for that. That is what they play, you know. And then at Florida, no matter how good or bad Florida is, it's still at Florida. That's a tough place to play. I don't care who it is. Most teams in the country would go into Florida and lose. Penn State, on the other hand, and when we do our Big Ten ratings, you're going to see how I react to this. That is one of the biggest upsets in college football history. And here is why I say that. Jim Knowles left Ohio State, won a national championship, left to go to Penn State for ungodly amounts of money. I don't even want to know what he makes, probably $3 or $4 million a year. And he's going against Rick Neuheisel's kid. I think it's Jerry. Not even 100% sure. Isn't even officially the offensive coordinator. He just on Tuesday was told he was going to be the play caller because they fired their coach. And he scores 42 points on Jim Knowles. I don't care. And this is a team that got blown out at home by New Mexico. So there's a couple things at play here. One, the players obviously didn't relate to Deshaun Foster, their head coach, or what it is, or whoever was calling the plays didn't know how to use his team. Now, here's the inside football that you don't know. I think his name's Tim Shipper, the acting head coach for UCLA, go to Neuheisel and say, "You're my guy," or did Neuheisel say, shoot his shot and say, "Hey, let me do it. I'm a young guy. I think I have a plan here that we're not using our guys correctly," and probably never know. But it also goes to show, Nico, however you say his last name, Olivava or whatever his name is.
I'm gonna leave you is what they joked about in Tennessee.
Well, he's pretty freaking good, and he was good for Tennessee, and that's why he's one of the best players in the country. And it just goes to show you that they're not as bad as they were, and Penn State just flat out wasn't ready to play. James Franklin should be ashamed of himself. That Tim Shipper has the same amount of top 10 wins in the Big Ten, as James Franklin does. He's 1 for 1, and James Franklin's like 1 in 50.
Yeah, it was an all-time loss. You wonder if Penn State has just given up. This, the remainder of their schedule is going to be a real test to James Franklin and those players to see how they hold up. Most people thought, given their schedule going into the season, that Penn State was the safest bet of any team to go to the playoffs. Well, it certainly looks like that's not going to happen because you almost have to factor in they're going to lose to Ohio State. And could they lose at Iowa or one of their other games they got to play? I mean, Penn State could be 8-4 when this whole thing is said, and maybe even 7-5 if things really go south. But like I said, most people thought Penn State was the safest bet of anybody, any conference to make the playoffs. And I don't think there's any way they're going to make it right now. You almost wonder, they talk about the $50 million buyout or whatever it is for Franklin. Could he give up some money? And as you brought up last week, what do you want to maybe take the Florida job and just it's time for something new?
Well, now, and speaking of the Florida job, the Florida, all them getting their money ready to fire him now that they can't fire him this week, with the win against Texas. He lives for another
speaking
week.
of that Texas win, last week I told you that Texas and Arch better watch out, and you kind of laughed at that a little bit.
I did laugh at that, and I was dead wrong. I did. I'm like, well, Arch will be fine. Nope, he's not fine. He's not good, or their team's not good, or both. Sark, he's going to be getting up there in the not being able to win the big one either. That's just he obviously hasn't done it as long as Franklin, and he's won a national title as a coordinator under Saban. And had some success in the NFL before he came back. But yeah, he's, they have the resources of everybody. Penn State has the resources, second to none. They need to win football games.
Yeah, Penn State loss, though, definitely was more embarrassing. There's no question about it. And now if Penn State could run the table and they beat Ohio State, they beat all these teams, then maybe something could change, and we'll see. But yeah, it's a turning point for Penn State right now. Texas, as you mentioned, Sark hasn't been there as long. Mm-hmm. And again, we knew they lost a bunch of offensive linemen, so that was in works coming into the year. The SEC looks pretty deep this year. They may not have any great team like at Ohio State, Oregon, or Miami, but the SEC seems to be pretty deep as a conference this year. So this may be a little bit of a setback year for Texas. It looks like it's going to be. Arch, I don't think there's any question he's got to come back for a senior year. If he came out right now, he'd be 5th round undrafted. He might get a little overdrafted because of his name, but if his last name wasn't Manning, again, 5th round undrafted would be my opinion on it.
So let's just go. Speaking of Texas, Oklahoma, Texas. Oklahoma's quarterback might play, but he's not going to be 100%. I do have Texas winning that game, but if Oklahoma's quarterback was 100% healthy, I'd pick Oklahoma in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I just saw Mateer's questionable, so it's going to be tough. And even if he does play, as you mentioned, he's going to be a little bit banged up. We know Oklahoma's going to have a good defense. Texas looks just a little bit off right now. That's going to be another hostile environment for Arch Manning, and now that'll be a little bit closer to home instead of in the swamp or at the shoe at Ohio State. Right. But still, it's going to be a hostile environment. So Arch hasn't shown a lot in these big games. He showed, he'll have a throw here and there. But as far as being consistent and his offensive line holding up, I don't know who I'm going to pick in that one. Obviously, we got our contest that you run for college pick'ems each week. I don't know who I'm picking in that one yet, but I think I'll lean Texas, but I'm not sure yet.
Should be happy. I picked 19 games this week instead of 10.
Yes, I saw that. So I like that. Get a Friday game, get the full slate on Saturday, even a late one. So I'm all for that. But yeah, it's going to be another big test, and I don't know. I don't have a strong feel either way in that one. Yeah, I'll tell you one game to pay attention to, though, and maybe you're going to talk about it, but Alabama going to Missouri. Missouri hasn't left their home stadium all year. So they've been home the entire time. That's a 3-point spread. That might be a little tricky spot for Bama. I don't know. I'd probably lean Bama, but, other than that Georgia win, Bama's had some struggles on the road.
Yeah, I think Alabama wins, but I believe the spread's around 10. If I was betting spread-wise, I'd take Missouri for sure there. Might even be more than 10. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different game. I looked at it today, but I forget what it was. That would be an interesting game. Obviously, it's only about 4 hours from here to go down and watch Alabama, just to watch Alabama play, because they're coming off back-to-back games that were pretty emotional. Obviously, Georgia's always a tough game. They have Georgia's number, and then they wanted to get back to Vanderbilt for that loss last year. So last week's game was super emotional and needed for them. So back-to-back emotion highs. Can they keep it up for a third week, or do they drop a little bit? And can Missouri take advantage of that if they do?
Yeah, I just looked on DraftKings. It is a 3-point spread. So Alabama.
I was looking at it was a different game then. Yeah.
And you wonder, I would have made the same decision too, but Penn State, if they could have held on to that other quarterback, I can't think of his name right now, that's at Missouri. He's having a hell of a year, and Drew Aller looks lost too, just like an Arch Manning. He doesn't look good at all. You almost wonder what if those two would have flipped or something. But that quarterback for Missouri, like I said, I'm having a brain fart now on his name. But I'm looking forward to that one though this weekend.
Yeah, it'll be a good game there. I've got soccer both Saturday and Sunday. Cyclones play at 2:30. Hawks play at 6. This goes out to the Hawk fans that used to make fun of the Cyclones for always being on ESPN Plus, so you couldn't watch it on TV. Well, the Hawks are playing on the internet as well. Not on TV. It's on Peacock, on the cock, as they say, against Wisconsin. Any other big picture college you want to talk about before we get to the Big 10, Big 12, and kind of Iowa State?
No, we can move on to the next topics if you want.
Okay. Let's go Hawkeyes first here. Coming off a bye week, the major story is, will Mark Gronowski play? And if he does play, how healthy is he? And I think it's kind of like the Oklahoma quarterback. He's going to be questionable or probable on the reports. And even if he does play, how effective will he be? Because one of Gronowski's huge bonus is him running around and being able just to run the football. Not even scramble, but just design runs and getting first downs and being a very effective runner. Knee sprain, he's going to wear a big brace, I'm sure. How effective will be? And then the other interesting thing on the depth chart, which depth chart is what it is, they did put Hank Brown or Helinski as the backup. So I don't know if it's Hank Brown isn't as good as they think. Is the other guy doing better? Is it gamesmanship? Who knows? I'm guessing they want Wisconsin to prepare for all three quarterbacks, which I don't blame them for that. My hunch right now, this is Wednesday night at a little after 10 o'clock. Gronowski will play, but Hank Brown will have to play some as well. It's kind of not necessarily because he gets hurt again, but just I almost think that's going to be the plan, or he just can't go the whole game, even be in the plan.
That'd probably be my guess as well. Gronowski, you probably go out there to start, give it a try. And if you're Wisconsin, you hope Hank Brown goes instead of Gronowski, because Gronowski's he's even banged up. He's going to be a little bit of a threat on the ground. As you mentioned when we first got started, it's a must-win for Iowa, especially those of us that have over 7.5 wins on the year before the bet. So
it's a very, very much must-win.
A must-win here. Penn State doesn't look as hard.
I'd say Penn State doesn't look as daunting.
If the players have given up on the season, maybe we can pull that one out. That's going to be a night game. But no, it really is a must-win for Iowa. Wisconsin's down right now. This is an opportunity. Even if Gronowski can't go, Iowa's got to find a way to get this win. They've been in all the games. Typically plays that they make, they haven't against Iowa State and Indiana. This is one. It's time. You've had the bye week. Go take advantage of a really good program that's down about as bad as they've been in a long time. You got to go take advantage of that.
I got my Wisconsin beer here. I do think Iowa wins the football game, but a little bit of me would love to see Wisconsin win and just see the reaction of Hawkeye fans. They would literally melt down and just what is going on. The after the game call-in shows, I would be up all night watching those if they lose to Wisconsin. They'll have 2 or 3 hour shows. I mean, I just couldn't get enough of that. It would be so entertaining to me. But
we'll see. It'll be.
But I do think Wisconsin's so bad that I don't care who's the quarterback. You have a great offensive line, run the football, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, I would think so. So hopefully the Hawks can take advantage, get back home for, I think, 2 home games, Minnesota, Penn State, I believe, if I'm remembering off the top of my head right for their schedule. But, yeah, take advantage of Wisconsin while they're down. Wisconsin's not down very often in our lifetime, so you got to go get this win on the road.
So you got the Hawks win. Do you think the Hawks win comfortably, or is it uncomfortable?
The Hawks don't win comfortably very often the past 5 or 6 years. So I would say it's a
42 last year on them.
Yeah, occasionally they'll have a comfortable win, but I don't know. That'd be nice if Gronowski was healthy, maybe, but I could see this being a 17-13 type of game.
Okay. Let's do this before we get to Iowa State in the Big 12. Let's run down our 18, rank our Big 10, 1 through 18. And I laughed. I saw you texted to me. I'm going to try to work on either tonight or tomorrow morning, getting it in a graphic and getting it up on our pages, our social media pages. So Morgan asked for Facebook. I believe Morgan asked for Instagram, things like that. I'm going to try to get those up later tonight or tomorrow. And I chuckled at who I saw your 18, and I forget that they are always your 18, even if they were the number 1 team in the country. Your number 18, as always, is, and I'm going to let you say it,
Michigan State. Michigan State can win the national title, but they're always dead last to me. So I don't know if I'll go through all 18, but I've got, the bottom four: Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin, Northwestern.
Yep.
I'll go up to number 1. Ohio State looks like the best team. You could argue Oregon, but I'm going to go Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Indiana 3, Michigan 4, Illinois 5, Penn State 6. That one might be giving them a little too much grace. I'm going to put Iowa at 7, just ahead of Nebraska and USC.
Okay.
And I know you'll post the official all 18 later.
Yep. You sent it to me in text, so I'll get it. Mine, number 18, I'm going to go Penn State. That loss for this week only. Now, they are not the 18th worst team in the Big Ten. I know this, but that loss for 1 week deserves – they need to see themselves dead last. Not that they're going to see my post or anything, but I don't know if you ever follow the ESPN bottom 10, and the number 5 spot is always a good team that had a bad week. Like it would have been, like a Texas or, probably Florida State the week before when they lost to Virginia, things like that. Not really a bottom 5 team, but this week it was Penn State. So I am putting Penn State number 18 and vice versa. I'm going UCLA at number 1 for this week only. Just the job that those coaches and players did to just even pick themselves off the ground and have the belief in themselves and belief in each other. That's what you love about college football, college sports, and young people in general. Whether they win another game or not doesn't matter. Their season was had. Great job by everybody at UCLA. With that being said, I don't know who they play this week, and I don't know what the spread is, but I would bet against them.
Yeah, it's the same thing in the NFL. You get the new coach bump.
Yep.
New coach gets fired, you get the intern coming in, whoever it is, you usually get a bump that following week. Yeah, it's a great story, though. It was a great win for them, one of the best wins they've had in a very long time. So good for them. I still expect them to finish bottom 5 or 6 in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But for this week only, I'm putting them at number 1. Then kind of going down my list here. And I got mine's just a little bit wonky here, especially in the middle, which I really think the middle of all these big conferences, you could switch them all a little bit. But I got Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, Illinois, USC, Nebraska, Iowa, Michigan. I know Michigan beat Nebraska, but I'm just not impressed with Michigan at all. I just think they're not anything what they used to be. I actually think Nebraska is going to go on a little run here. Actually like Nebraska. I watched some of their game. I like what they do. They're another one of those. They're a team, not necessarily a coach, because they went through several coaches here. A team that can't win the big one. Doesn't matter who their coach is. Their team can't win the big one. Iowa at 8, Minnesota at 10, Washington, Maryland, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Rutgers, Purdue, and Northwestern. But the Big Ten is very top heavy this year. I think down at the bottom, there's some really not good teams. Purdue's not good. Northwestern's not good. UCLA is not good. Definitely not as top to bottom strong as they've been in the past.
Yeah, Nebraska. Is Eric Crouch walking through that door? Because I'm not believing in Nebraska at all until I see it.
I don't disagree with you. I just their quarterback is good. I know he thinks he's Patrick Mahomes, and he doesn't quite play like him, but he's pretty good.
I'd say he's okay. That's as far as I'd go.
He's better. He's better than Manning right now.
Yeah, he's better than Manning.
So,
whatever that means exactly.
Yeah, Andrew Aller.
Yeah. His no, I'll believe Nebraska when it's all said and done. But yeah, we potentially we'll see how the rest of the year goes. We could maybe see an all Big Ten championship game between Ohio State and Oregon. It looks like there's a big 3 to me right now: Ohio State, Oregon, and Miami, and then it's a lot of this next tier of teams just trying to figure out who's going to come out of those. What Big 10, what SEC, Big 12, what schools are going to come out of that second tier when it's all said and done.
Yeah, Miami, they jump on people, but then they just have to hang on. Like, the game was over, but Florida State just kept going, and Miami kind of let down a little bit, and it never got close enough that anybody thought Miami would lose, but it just shouldn't have been that close. Ole Miss is maybe that next team that might be up there with the top three. We just don't know yet.
A&M's got some good wins on the season too. So there's another one that, like I said, there might not be an elite team in the SEC, but they've got 7 or 8 teams, whatever it is, that are kind of all bunched together or close. And whether it's Bama that comes out on top, A&M, Ole Miss, I'm kind of excited to see who wins the SEC this year.
All right, transition to the Big 12. Iowa State is in a must-win game. They have a bunch of injuries, back-to-back weeks on the road. After this game, another bye. So a chance to get healthy, but they need to get this win. Colorado, they're not horrible, but they're not good either. I mean, they're definitely just middle of the road. They have some talent. They've got some good players, but they haven't put it all together very much against good teams so far this year. They've been in games, but then just haven't been able to make the play to make the winning scores. TCU got them last week. Georgia Tech got them the first week. Just haven't been able to put it together as good as last year. Obviously, they lost their 2 best players in Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner, and then obviously Shedeur Sanders. Deion Sanders is battling health problems. I believe he was in surgery yesterday or today to help with those blood clots. So we do wish him well. I loved watching Deion when I was younger. He was one of my favorite players to watch. Florida State was just so fun to watch in the late 80s, early 90s. And then obviously with him being in the 49ers and the Cowboys, him and Charles Haley winning championships, winning Super Bowls for both teams, just watching that Cowboys documentary just brought back all those memories and everything. So hopefully he gets better, but hopefully his team isn't winning for at least one more week.
Yeah, a must-win for Iowa State if they want a chance to get to the Big 12 title game, because Texas Tech looks like they're really on a roll.
Yeah, they're the best team.
We almost want to pencil them in right now, but we'll see what happens. But for Iowa State, yeah, you got some injuries. A lot of teams do. Hopefully that loss at Cincinnati wakes the team up a little bit and come in and able to get the win on the road at Colorado, back-to-back road games. If you can do that, you kind of get the ship righted, even though it's not that far off. But you don't want to lose 2 in a row by any means.
Yeah, last year it was they went 7-0 last year and then lost games 8 and games 9. So they did lose their 2 in a row and then finished it by winning 3 in a row but I don't think you want to get to 7-2 to get to the championship game, because there was a 3-team tiebreaker with Colorado and BYU, and Iowa State won that tiebreaker to get in. So I don't think you want to be 7-2 or have 2 losses this early in the year when you didn't think you were going to be there. You are kind of a 1 game ahead of everybody else just because you played that early conference game against Kansas State. So a lot of teams are 2-0 in conference, and Iowa State's 2-3 or 2-1 because they've already played 3 games. So they kind of have 1 game ahead of playing, which is why they get that 3rd bye week in November. But must win. Hopefully, offense. I've heard, and I'm going to kind of criticize Chris Williams and them a little bit. They're big Cyclone fans, and I know he had a show tonight. I didn't watch it. I'll listen to it tomorrow. But they were super disappointed in the offense. And they were kind of glazing over the defense a little bit. And I understand our 2 corners were out. But whatever plan they had that first quarter for sure and first half was not right. They just had nobody in the box, and the linebackers absolutely tackled horribly. I mean, Carson Willich got trucked absolutely twice because the running back is good. They had like 600 yards against Kansas a week before, so you knew they were going to score, and you knew we weren't going to be good, but you've got to have some type of plan to stop them a little bit. And whatever it was to start the game was not. And then as Haycock does, he adjusted at halftime, and they scored 1 touchdown very late in the game. And it was a home run call, 80-yard touchdown pass that kind of sealed it up. But the offense went up and down the field. Now, because our kicker's hurt, they went for it on 4th down a lot. I think they went for it on seven times. They were really bad on first down all games. Had a lot of third down, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7s, which you're not going to be super successful there. And so when they needed the play to be made, they didn't make it on offense. I'm going to agree with Chris Williams in that. But overall, that game was lost on defense. You can't be down 17-0 right out of the gates and expect the offense to come back and win that game for you. They had a chance. They had the ball once or twice with a chance to tie the game, and they didn't do it. So with that all being said, they still had a chance to go down, score a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion to tie the game up in the fourth quarter late, but they weren't able to do it.
Yeah, being down 17 in the Big 12 is really only like being down 3. So that's really not that big of a hole in the Big 12 to come out of. If you're down 7 in the Big 12, it's a tie game.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, they were down 16.5 and came back and had a chance to win. So, yeah, down 17 in the Big 12 is like being down maybe 3 or 4 points. So if they could have got a touchdown there in the first half, maybe, or the first quarter, maybe it would have been a little bit different.
Yeah. It's not quite Mahomes 60 points a game. Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma when they were scoring 60. It's not quite that way anymore, but
close though.
Nah, not really. Texas Tech has one of the best defenses in the country.
In the Big 12.
I bet they're ranked in the top 10.
In the Big 12.
Mm-hmm. Look at it nationally.
Playing Big 12 opponents is what I mean.
Well, so far.
We'll see what happens in the playoffs.
Well, for the first time, I do believe Texas Tech has the playing power because they bought all the players from the SEC.
No, Texas Tech is actually an interesting team, all joking aside. They do look like they're going to represent most likely the Big 12. I am interested to see how they do if they get in the playoffs, how they match up, because like you said, they brought in a bunch of talented players from all over the country. So Texas Tech is a fascinating team, all joking aside.
Yeah, they spent all their money. I mean, they kept their quarterback. They didn't go get the high-priced quarterback. They got all linemen. They got D linemen and offensive linemen. And right now it is working. They are killing everybody. No game is really even that close. The Utah, I think they're up 10-3, but then scored 3 or 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, which just goes to show you, their talent and their depth just overtook Utah at the end there. I think Utah is a really good team as well. They're going to be right there at the end and to get to the Big 12 back, and wouldn't completely shock me if those two teams played in Arlington, even though they played already this year.
No, that was a really good win that Texas Tech had on the road at Utah. That's a tough place to play. Utah has been a powerhouse out west for a long time. So I think Texas Tech is going to get through. I don't know if the Big 12 will get 2 teams in or not. So it's going to depend on the records of the Big 12 teams. But
the Penn State loss helps. I mean, don't kid yourself. And the Texas loss helps. Mm-hmm. If Penn State would lose another one, especially like, let's say they lose at Iowa, so they got 2 losses to not great teams. Would they still get in an at-large? I do think a 10-2 Big Ten team, I don't care who you are or who you lost to, probably gets in. But you're starting to have that argument if Utah's, 2 losses are to the number 3 team in the country at the time, Texas Tech, who's undefeated. I mean, that's a fair argument. Where their losses are to the, number 3 team in the country twice, if that happens, and then Penn State has a loss at UCLA, who's got 2 wins on the year, and an 8-4 Iowa team.
Yeah, I think right now the Big Ten, it's looking like the Big Ten's going to get 3 in. I don't know if they're going to get a 4th because that 4th team is at Penn State, Illinois, Michigan, Nebraska, USC, and if they finish 4th in the Big Ten, they've got 3 losses. It's going to be even tougher for a team like that to get in. Where I think the SEC, the schedules, you have to go through each team's schedules and see how it play out. But I think the SEC could get 4 or 5 in because of all the names, and they're all ranked in the top 15 to 20. So we know ESPN is going to keep that bias going. I could see the SEC getting 4 or 5 in, and maybe the Big Ten only getting 3, depending on who finishes where and what the records are.
Yeah, the ACC. I mean, obviously Miami looks like they're going to get in. Clemson will probably make a run and still get in. That's
What
just.
about North Carolina?
I don't think North Carolina is going to quite make it. His buyout is being talked about as we speak. They're meeting, and he got the dreaded. I did just see this right before we went on. That the dreaded voice of confidence from the AD and a statement from Belichick that he's all in and committed to Carolina football. And the AD says North Carolina is behind him 100% and looks forward to continue working in the future with him. So that means next week he'll quit either on the spot or they'll announce this will be his last year.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be there for a year or two. I was trying to look up who North Carolina's got. Well, they're on a bye week, so good time for a bye, I guess. Then they're at Cal, so that's a really far trip. Again, that's going, Cal. I don't know. Cal's probably not very good, but you're still going all the way to the West Coast. I don't even know if they get 4-8 might be their record end of the year.
It's not good.
Yeah. The whole Belichick thing. It's Urban Meyer in the NFL. It's just Bill Belichick in college. This whole thing's been a mess, and the girlfriend stuff.
I think the girlfriend. I mean, I think you could probably live with him losing, and I think the program probably could, the university could, and maybe even he could. But that girlfriend thing just makes it super weird. Because it is not that you can't turn it around in 1 year, but it's really, really hard unless you hit on every single transfer. Which when you get transfers, you're not going to bat 1,000. It's just the reason. It's one of the reasons they're transferring, and some kids get it and some kids don't, and that's not anybody's fault. They're trying to do the best they can, but you got to give someone 2 or 3 years just to, just set the processes up. I mean, I guarantee he's a huge process guy. They had a process in New England, and it worked. Now, it really worked because he had number 12 at quarterback, but still, there were still all the processes were in sync, and that does take time to take effect no matter where you're at.
Another problem is his pushback against the Patriots. He's not allowing any of their scouts to come to practices. When Drake May had that big win on Monday night against the Bills, or Sunday night, I should say, but there's a rumor out there that he told his staff not to repost anything about Patriots players, and then Mac Brown came out and put a post about Drake May. So that grudginess that he's holding, the girlfriend stuff, there's some, of course, now rumors are coming out. Deion's first year, I think he won 4-8 here in Colorado, I think it was. But that was kind of expected because it was a total rebuild. And again, there was noise, but it was all football noise. There wasn't this girlfriend stuff and the hatred toward the Patriots. You got to remember, Bill Roy didn't get many looks from the NFL. It was really only the Falcons that gave him a chance. So he's burned a lot of bridges in his career. As great as he is, most people would probably agree that the best NFL coach of all time, or at least top 3 at worst. So he's burned a lot of bridges, though. The older he gets, the more I don't know. He's got a son on staff, Lombardi. There's just those group of Patriot guys just kind of sticking together. And it does feel like whether he leaves early this year or after the season, I can't picture him back there for a second year.
Nope. It would just absolutely shock me if he is North Carolina's football coach next year.
Yeah, and I don't know who they're going to get. They're not going to probably get a big name at this point. They probably want to go the boring route. You almost want to pivot to a lower name and kind of get out of the headlines and just get back to football, and that's it.
Yeah, hire a good football coach. All right, let's go real quick. Rank the top 16 Big 12 power rankers. You don't have to go through all 16 if you want to just kind of do your highlights here.
Yeah, I'll let you post mine. This is more your side, but I'll go through my I'll give you my top 5 in the Big 12.
Yep.
So, Texas Tech number 1. I think most people would have that. Cincy, I've been pretty impressed with that game the fight they put up against Nebraska at a so-called neutral site. They kind of lost the home game there. So Cincy might be a little bit higher, but I'm going to put them at 2 for now. Iowa State, I still believe in. I'm going to put them at 3. Arizona State's hasn't quite looked the same this year. again, losing Scadaboo, you wonder if that was just an emotional loss for the team. And they just haven't quite looked the same, explosive. And I'll put Utah at 5. So, followed by BYU, Kansas, Baylor, Kansas. I don't know what to quite to make of them, but those are my top teams. I'll let you kind of go through yours a little bit more in depth.
Yep, I'll start at 16 and go up. Oklahoma State is at 16 until they win a game. Obviously, their coach was fired. West Virginia, K-State, Colorado, Central Florida. That's a big deal. They don't want to be called Central Florida. They want to be called UCF. So I'm going to call them Central Florida. Kansas, Baylor, Houston, Arizona. I have Iowa State at 7. I'm a little worried about them. I'm going to be honest. They didn't look good. I'm a little worried. TCU at 6, BYU at 5, Cincinnati at 4, Arizona State at 3, and then Utah at 2. I think Utah's pretty good. They were only down 10-3 at going into the fourth quarter. Kind of let it go, let it get out of hand there at the end. And then Texas Tech, like if you had to like rate in tiers, like A team, B team, C teams, D teams, the only A team is Texas Tech right now in the Big 12.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. They look head and shoulders above everybody else right now. So good luck to whoever plays them most likely in the Big 12 title game. I was looking at their schedule. They've got Kansas, and then they've got a tough game, I think, on the road the following week. But their final week of the season, they may be 11-0, so it may not matter as much. But their Texas Tech's final game of the regular season is at West Virginia. That will be a tough place to play, even though West Virginia look very good. That'll be a tough one. So West Virginia is going to want to be playing spoilers there at the end of the year, even though if Texas Tech is 11-0 at that point, even with the loss, they'd still get into the Big 12 championship. But I'd agree with you. Texas Tech looks like the A class of the Big 12 right now.
Yeah. So again, as I said, I will put these up I'll make a graphic tonight, probably tomorrow morning. Actually, it's almost 11 o'clock already. Here, probably make them tomorrow sometime, and I'll get those up for the week. We'll kind of start doing that, and then going forward, when Trev puts his NFL power rankings, I'll make a graphic out of that as well. Kind of last thing here, we already talked about our baseball 4A golf tournament. I know RJ put on the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat. RJ made a couple comments there. Thanks, RJ, for watching and commenting. 4A golf Monday and Tuesday at Hyperion Golf Club there in Johnston. He asked, and I wrote back, I do think Johnston is going to win it. I think they're, if you had to seed them or rank them, they are third, but it is their home course. So I think that gives them a real nice advantage. So I do think Johnston will win it, and Pleasant Valley will get second. We played over at Pleasant Valley's district final in Davenport on Monday. They shot 8 under as a team, Trev. And they were 8 under after 9 holes. Their front 9 scores of their 6 players were 32, 34, 32, 34, 35, 35, 36.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah. The worst they shot was even par.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to beat. What's a winning team score got to be, you think?
Well, I have only played Hyperion one time in my life, and it was over 20 years ago. Like at our regional on Monday at E-Mice golf course in Davenport, even par was 288, par 72. So you take that times 4 is 288. They shot 280. North Scott shot 286. So they were 2 under. And then 296 was third, and that was Bettendorf. But they also had a district final at Copper Creek, which is a much more difficult golf course there in Pleasant Hill, and the scores were much higher. I'm going to say it's going to take probably around 292 and then do that by 2 days. So, I'm guessing Hyperion is a par 72. So let's say 4. I'm going to say 8 over. If you shoot 8 over as a team over the 2 days, depending on weather, the weather looks really good, so it might go a little less than that. I'm going to say, so 8 over par over the 2 days as a team. will win it.
Yeah, it's nice right now, even though it's still early October. The weather's pretty nice most places.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it definitely could be colder. I don't know what's like there in Iowa. It was 70s here today. So
yeah, it was there too. I mean, it was real. I mean, it's cool in the morning, nice, shorts and sweatshirts. I love this weather, short and sweatshirt weather. But in the afternoon when the sun's shining, it's pretty nice. And then like yesterday and today, maybe just a little bit cooler. Then it jumps back up a few degrees through the weekend or whatever. I think high of 80s Sunday, and I think into Monday and Tuesday when the tournament is. So should be real nice for them. This time of year, you could get anything. You could get a little sleet, a little snow, or it could be 85 degrees.
Yeah, on Monday morning, it was pretty cold here in Colorado, and I woke up, it was 59 degrees in my house. So
I love it.
I turned the furnace on briefly just for a little bit because I figured I may as well electric furnace. I was like, I better test it out anyway before wintertime gets here. So
right. Yeah, if something went wrong, you wanted time to fix it before it got real cold.
Yeah, had to run the furnace a little bit. It's good to be that time of the year. But no, good luck to all the golfers. That's a fun time and all those kids' sports careers. Good luck to all the people that we know, of course. And yeah, this next week will be my last week on here for the first week of November. I got a lot of travel coming up and some scheduling stuff. So you'll have to get Zach or RJ on here. I'm going to be in 17 or 18 different states between now and the end of the year.
Oh boy. Out west or kind of all over the U.S.?
West, Midwest, and East. So I'm going to be all the Western states just about. I'm going to be up in North Dakota, Bismarck the first week of December. Then I'm going to be out in Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. A lot of traveling coming up. So yeah, the next week will be my last one for a couple weeks. So you have to see if you can get RJ or Zach or someone on here to come in and debate you a little bit.
We can do that. So, all right. Thanks a lot, Trev. And we'll talk next week. Kind of have a big send off for a few weeks there for you and get should get a little bit more clearer. When is the NFL trade deadline?
I think it's November 3rd or 4th.
Okay,
it's about a month away.
Yeah, still a couple weeks.
Yeah, we still got some. Maybe some teams are still holding on hope. Maybe another week or two, and they'll finally start selling off some pieces. But rumors are going to start heating up. Like I said, Brees Hall rumors already kind of coming alive. So yeah, next week I'll rate the NFL teams, and we'll see what we got to talk about next week.
All right, thanks a lot, Trev. We'll talk to you next week.
All righty, have a good one.